Worth it ba na bumili ka ng R35S kaysa sa unburnick RG35XX? Let's find out! First of all, let's unbox the R35S. Bago tayo tumuloy sa unboxing, ipapakita ko muna sa inyo na sa TikTok ko to nabili. And makikita nyo dito na nakalagay ay Gigaware R35S. Pero makikita nyo mamaya kung ano yung itsura ng box. So ito na siya nung dumating. Nakalagay lang dito is handheld portable game station. Ayan. And sa likod makikita nyo yung specs niya. You can pause if you want. And right under it, meron siyang label na DataFrog R35S, which is weird. So parang generic lang talaga yung R35S na branding, no? So let's open the box. So katulad din ng RG35XX, may foam to protect the device. So what I got was the transparent black version. Looks good right off the box. Tignan natin kung ano pang laman. We have the charging cable and the manual. So sa harap, we have the 640 by 480 pixel screen. It's an IPS panel as far as I know. Right under the screen, we have the analog sticks. Tapos sa gitna, meron tayong function, select and start button. Then sa gitna rin sa bandang baba, meron tayo nung front-facing speaker. And then of course, yung D-pad sa left and the other buttons sa right side. And then sa likod, of course, we have the trigger and shoulder buttons. Sa left, makikita natin yung SD card slot for the games. And sa right side naman para sa OS. Let's see yung itsura ng mga SD card na kasama dito sa device. So, looks like it's a micro SD HC na 32GB, kaya alam mo kung generic lang. Ngayon tignan natin isang SD card with the games. Looks like it's a 64GB micro SD XC. Pero mukhang generic din. Before we continue with the video, I would like to encourage you to please like the video. Also, it would help a lot if you can subscribe. I always put a ton of effort dito sa mga videos ko, and a little support would go a long way for me. Back to the review. Side by side with the RG35XX, slightly higher and wider yung R35S. I don't know kung nakikita nyo na mas malapad ang R35S, pero papakita ko sa inyo na fit tong RG35XX sa grip ko. Pero when I tried the R35S, talagang hindi siya kasya. Now, one thing I really noticed is iba talaga yung feel ng buttons ng RG35XX versus dito sa R35S. Yung R35S feels a little cheaper, for lack of a better term. And yung shoulder or trigger buttons niya sa likod medyo maingay kahit na wala siyang play. Let's check if it's working. Looks like ArcOS 2.0 yung naka-install. Mukhang maliwanag yung screen nito versus yung RG35XX. Ang emulators na available is CPS1, CPS2, we have the CPS3, we have the MAME 2003, PC Engine, we have the Famicom Disk System, Super Famicom NES, and Super Nintendo. Of course, we have the Nintendo 64, and then the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. We have the Nintendo DS, pero of course, walang touchscreen to. We have the Sega Mega Drive, the Sega Dreamcast, Sega Game Gear, Neo Geo, Sony PlayStation 1, and of course, the Sony PSP, or the PlayStation Portable. We have a total of 15,000 plus games pre-installed, and syempre, i-peel off na natin to. The manual comes in Chinese and English, thankfully. Yung charger niya is Type-C. Sa bottom, separate yung charging port tsaka OTG port. Then we have the headphone jack. Now, the main reason why I bought this was because it can emulate yung mga PSP games. Pero before we jump into the gameplay, may kukwento muna ako sa inyo. Story time! Way back 2008, I was really addicted to the PSP. Bumili ako ng first PSP, the fat one, and eventually sold it and bought the slim version, and then put a ton of upgrades on it, customization. I was really active sa Pinoy PSP forum at the time. One of the games that I really loved was Monster Hunter. Meron akong two best friends that I used to hang out with every Saturday morning. Kasi ang labas ng isang friend ko is morning dahil sa BPO siya nagkatrabaho. So we meet every Saturday morning just to play Monster Hunter together until about 12 in the afternoon. Sometimes gigising pa ako ng 6 a.m. just so we can meet early, 6:30 a.m. Hang out sa isang coffee shop and then play there until 12 p.m. On Saturday, like usual, we met, played for until 12 p.m. And by the time when we were going home, sabi ko, lakas ng ulan. Tapos, long story short, na-stranded ako sa place na yon because yung heavy rain na yon was caused by the Typhoon Ondoy.
Lang bagyong Ondoy?
455 millimeters ng ulan ang ibinuhos ng Ondoy sa loob ng 24 oras. Katumbas sa ito ng isang buwang buhos ng ulan.
So it was flooded everywhere, na-stuck ako doon, so I was able to go home 12 midnight na. So nagalit sa akin yung asawa ko. Well, di naman. Sabi lang ng asawa ko, next time, dito na lang kayo maglaro sa bahay para hindi ka nasa stranded sa labas. Yung two friends ko were able to get home kaagad. Ako, I got stranded because of the floods.
Umuwi ka pa? Alam mo ba kung anong oras na ngayon? Nasagot ka pa?
So, ipapakita ko muna sa inyo yung mga gameplay ng mga pre-installed games dito. Yung iba dito ay high demand sa graphics at yung iba ay low naman ang demand sa graphics. Pumunta ako kagad sa cdromance.com to download my PSP favorites na wala dito para matest kung gagana siya ng maayos sa R35S. Dinownload ko yung Manhunt 2, Patapon 1, 2, and 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and of course yung Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Tignan natin kung uubra.
Follow me. Head straight. Follow you. That's it, Danny. Listen to me, and I'll get us out of here. This if you can't sneak past a couple of whack jobs, huh? Are you high on Thai stick?
As for my final thoughts dito sa R35S. I've been using it for maybe 2 weeks now, and of course, this is just my subjective opinion, di ba? Other people would consider this as superior to RG35X mainly because it can run other platforms. Pwede sa PSP and Dreamcast. Pero I have a few problems with this device. One of them is yung button placement. D-pad niya tsaka yung buttons niya is nandito sa baba and yung analog sticks are nasa taas. Medyo mahirap siyang laruin ng matagal dahil dito nabibitawan ko siya, especially pag fighting games yung nilalaro ko. So, bad decision on their part to lay it out like this, yung mga buttons. Also yung quality ng buttons that they chose, yung membrane, tsaka yung itong buttons na to, and ito, yung start select buttons, they feel really cheap. For a lack of a better word, ang cheap nung feel niya. Even yung engraving ng mga buttons, I don't know, they just feel cheap to me compared dun sa RG35XX. Basta yung overall feel ng buttons and tactility, parang tinipid siya. Just so they can sell it at the price point ng RG35XX. I love the screen, it's brighter, it's clearer compared to the RG35XX. I also love the fact that I can play PSP games, but of course, not all of them. Not all of the titles that I love do sa PSP. I can play Loco Roco and Patapon without any problems, hindi nagsastutter, pero when it comes to the games, may high graphic requirement. Medyo sablay. Parang pakiramdam is parang pinilit nila yung platform sa capabilities na itong device. So, hindi mo makuha yung buong PSP experience. I'd rather just buy Sony PSP Slim or Sony PSP 3000 sa marketplace if I really wanted to play yung mga titles that I used to love before. If you just wanna play yung PSP games and Dreamcast, Nintendo 64 games that you love, and if those games na gusto nyo doon will run smoothly dito, then go for it. Buy this one. Pero mas preferred ko yung RG35XX. Mainly because mas maayos yung build niya. Things run smoothly sa Garlic OS. Madaming tao are building on the platform. Like sila Retro Mateo. When it comes to customizability ng Garlic OS, there are a lot of people out there who are building on the platform. Plus the fact na it's Anbernic, it's branded, di ba? There's more quality control, I guess. Whereas this is just like a generic device. Parang naka-white label lang siya, you can brand it whatever you like. Ibahin mo lang yung packaging and that's it. So that's it. Just tell me your thoughts dyan sa comment section if you have anything to say about the R35S. I appreciate you watching up to this point. That's all for now. Until our next review, I'll see you in the next video. God bless you guys and stay swakly.